My name is DeForest Franklin, and this is a kind of a mini documentary that I'm making for Dace, my grandson. In 1943, I was a foreman in the Kingsborough Ordnance Plant in Kingsbury, Indiana. Quite a few of my boyhood friends and schoolmates had been wounded or killed overseas. And I figured, well, maybe it's time I got into this. So I had an automatic deferment to come up, I believe it was in March every year. And when it came up this in 1943, I said, well, I went to the draft board and told them I wanted to get in the Air Force. Well, at that time, the Air Force quota was full. They didn't need any. And so I said, well, how about the Navy? And no, that's full too. So the only thing we got is the Marine Corps or the Army. I said, well, I don't want anything to do with the Marine Corps, that's for sure. So I ended up in Fort Sheridan and in the infantry, and I was sent to Camp Blanding, Florida for my basic training. After my basic was over, I went to, I came home for a couple of weeks, and then I went to the East Coast to Boston, camp out of Boston. And from there we sailed on a coastal steamer, which has been a coastal steamer. We called it a banana boat. And went to Oran, Africa. And when I got to Oran, Africa, I went to a replacement depot there, and they assigned me to the 45th Division, which had just came back from the Anzio beachhead. And they were in Naples getting ready to train to go to southern France. So I joined the unit there, Company K, the 3rd Battalion, 157th Regiment, 45th Infantry Division. And we trained for the invasion of southern France. We sailed out of there in some E-boats, I call them, and we went to Corsica and picked up some French troops, Free French troops that went with us. And we made the invasion of southern France. That went along pretty good. It wasn't too bad a deal for the first time in combat. And they were shelling us with mortars on the beach, so I jumped into a hole that was there that the Germans had for their troops, and it was occupied. Well, when I jumped in, the guy fell over against me, and I fought him like mad. Boy, I thought, you've had it, Franklin. And come to find out, he was already dead. So I took a lot of ribbing about that, and from the boys in the platoon. But we advanced on up through southern France, through the vineyard sections there, southern France, and up along the Swiss border and along the Black Forest, edge of the Black Forest, at what they call the Comar Pocket. And from there we went up into central France, which was Alsace-Lorraine at that time, I believe. And there we crossed the Moselle River and headed into Germany. Well, we got to the Rhine on March 27th of 1945, and we were taken across in great big, I call them rowboats, with 50 horsepower Johnson motors on them, and believe it or not, they were manned by the Coast Guard. But they got us across pretty well. We lost a few men, but what the deal was, we had cartridge belts for our M1s, and we had a suspender set up on them that all the rest of your equipment hooked to. And if the boat got shot off under you or anything, or you capsized, why, that weight of that equipment would drag you down. So later they told us when we crossed the river, why, or anywhere like that where you're in that danger, why, you unbuckle that belt and you can slip right out of those suspenders and let that pack and stuff go instead of pulling you down and drowning you. But we got in there and we got into Worms, Germany, and we started cross country there and ended up in Aschaffenburg, Germany, which was east of, I believe, east of Frankfurt. And we got into a pretty good battle there. There was a German billet area in that place there, and we attacked that, and we got 900 prisoners out of there that day. And I had a funny thing happen. I was going along and carrying an M1. I was in a machine gun, light machine gun squad, but I was carrying an M1. And I come on this German hole, and there was 2 German officers in it. So I emptied a clip in there, 8 rounds. Never hit a soul. Kicked up a lot of dirt. Had some real scared Germans. And that old clip come out of that rifle, clang, and I thought, uh-oh, I've had it now. And another GI happened to come along with a carbine, and he held it on them until I got another clip in the rifle. I did get a German Luger and a Walther automatic off those 2 officers, which when I got home my wife made me turn them over to the American Legion. And there we went to Nuremberg, Germany. On April 19th, 1945, while in Nuremberg, we were cleaning out some of the apartment buildings along the avenue, and we were in this one in the kitchen area, and we were fixing our breakfast out of C rations when a Tiger tank come down through the boulevard and put a round in there. Evidently saw some of our men outside, put a round in there, and it came into the kitchen area and killed one of my buddies that was in there with me. And I had my ears all pounded full of concrete dust and water, and I had shrapnel in my back and in my right leg, and some slivers in my back of my head, little tiny slivers. And so I ran out into the courtyard to go into the basement, and evidently a mortar shell landed out there not too far from me and knocked me down into the basement. Well, the next thing I remember was I was on a Jeep in a litter going to the battalion aid station. From there they took me to Würzburg, Germany, which had a field hospital there. And I had a piece of shrapnel in my backbone, and they didn't have the facilities there to take care of it. So they put me on a plane to Reims, France. And I got into Reims. I was there a couple of days, and then they shipped me out to Cirencester, England, where they removed the shrapnel. Luckily, I had no after effects from it. And I went to after I got out of the hospital on 4th of July there in England, I was sent to a what they call 11th Replacement Depot. And there I was assigned to 1302 Combat Engineers.